Wow, I look so weird in this shot.
Today's video is made possible through the support of Paul Klein-Peter and dozens of Patreons just like you. Check out the links below in the description to see how you can get involved and help me make yet more boring videos. Thank you.
Hi there guys, I'm Chris Boden and welcome to today's video. It's a pilot episode. Expect things to go wonky in this episode because it's a whole new set, it's a whole new setup. We're doing this live. We're doing a big experiment on recording audio, so we'll see how that turns out. And I'm going to learn some electronics. Now, for any of you who are used to watching my videos, normally what I've done for 20 years is I have a thing that I might know a couple things about, and I'll talk about the things I know about and maybe take some of the things I know and put them into your brain. And I teach. I'm an educator. That's what I do. Kind of. I'm not very good at it, but, you know, I got better. This is a really weird spin in a different direction. I don't know anything about electronics. I know electricity. I know electrical work. I can wire a house. I don't know anything about electronics. Okay, if you're dealing with high voltage, you want to make 100,000 volts, no problem. I can do that. You want to deal with like 5 volts, 3 volts? I don't know anything about this world. So a couple of really awesome people have decided that they want to have the opportunity to laugh a lot at me. And they've helped me set up a set, and that's what this is. It's a workbench. We're actually in my bedroom at the moment. And I have gotten a couple little kits. This one is where we begin with the solder practice kit from Elenco. And we're going to put this together. I don't know what I'm doing. I famously can't solder worth a damn, and I figure if I want to learn electronics, the best place to start is I should probably learn how to solder. Now the idea here is not so much that I'm going to teach you something, it's that I'm going to learn something, and along the way you can learn a couple things too, and we get to have a laugh probably at my expense the vast majority of the time. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do before I even crack the instruction books is I have this really killer stand that Avitech got me, and it's a stand for holding a circuit board. So we're going to put the circuit board in it. So I'm going to set that there, loosen both sides, because I'm OCD as hell. Yes, I know you could do it in one, but why do it in one when you can overcomplicate the hell out of it and do it in both? Comment in. Are these sleeves too much? They're making me crazy. I feel like I'm wearing like my dad's shirt or something. All right. So now I got my dingus in there. Those are loose, so I can turn it around because I'm pretty sure I got to do all my soldering on this side. Yeah, that's component side. Also just realized, hang on, I'll fix that for you. There. Okay, now it's all right side up. Okay. So we've got LF99 lead-free solder. 99.3% tin, 0.7% copper, 4.84 grams, 5 foot of 31 thou diameter rosin core. I've been told by everybody who I've ever talked to that this is pretty much 100% garbage, just absolute shit. So we're not going to use that because somebody sent in this bad ass. Check this out. This is a Hakko model 611. It's a little solder stand. I got big beefy and little Weedley solder, so we're just going to set that over to the side right here, and I'm going to use that solder. So right off the hop, I'm not using parts of the kit, so I'm already destined for failure. Yeah, okay, we got power to the soldering iron, and the lights are still on, so we didn't trip the breaker. So the soldering iron, holy shit, that gets hot fast. That wants water, doesn't it? Yeah, I gotta get a little thing of water for that. Yeah, I think that's working. There's smoke coming off it, so clearly it's working. Can we melt solder with it? So now I got a big old blob of solder on there, and I'm gonna put that in the, I got a little dingus in the base with the shreddy stuff in it. It looks like brass wool. Double pads. Before we begin to assemble and solder the components to the solder practice PC board, we'll first start by practice soldering to the double pads on the edge of the PC board, see figure 3. Okay. Wait a minute. I think I'm supposed to flux this first. I could be wrong, but I'm going to. I have a flux pen. So I'm going to, because the solder isn't sticking to the thing, and I think it's because I need to flux it, is why. So I'm just drawing some flux on there with my flux pen. Let's see if that makes it stick, because the solder wouldn't stick. Hey, there's a blob of solder on there. Hey, I made a thing. All right, look at that. Let's get a look right in there. You guys can inspect the quality of my work. What do you think of that? Is that all right? We won't look at the first couple. It took me a minute to get my shit together, but what do you think of that? My first solder joint's totally on my own there. Now practice using the single pads. Use the same soldering techniques as the large double pads. Be sure there are no solder bridges between the pads. Refer to solder bridge section below. Okay, cool. So single pads. That's these. That's these. I got to solder all these. I can do this. I got skills. Look at that. I did the double pads. I can do single pads. Solder maxi pads if you need me to. I can do this. All right, so my tip kind of sucks for this, and there's nowhere to rest your hands. Oh, flux. Flux. Just gonna fucking flood that right on there. Though that first one stuck. Okay, I am fluxed, and I've got rosin core solder, so that's got to count for something, right? Totally counts for something. Paul would be laughing his ass off right now. So my soldering iron is set to 750 degrees. I have no idea if that's where I want it or not. That's just what it did when I turned it on. I haven't actually adjusted the temperature. Seems to be working great. Okay, check my work. Tell me what you think. Focus, you fuck. Okay. How's that look to you? You happy with that? What would Dave from EEV blog say? He'd say I'm a fucking poof is what he'd say. Alright, what's next? Solder bridge. Solder bridges occur when solder runs between circuit paths and creates short circuit. This is usually caused by using too much solder. Using a top row of single pads, try intentionally to make a solder bridge in each section. So it's telling me to intentionally fuck up and bridge some of those. I can do that. Watch this. There, solder bridge. Okay, I've made 2 solder bridges. I gotta make them lower down so you can see them. Hang on. Focus, you fuck. There you go. Alright, so there you go, solder bridges. Now I gotta remove them. I'm going to remove the top 2 by heating it and wiping it away with the iron, with the sponge. That's so cool. Okay, and for the other 2, I'm going to use, I have it this. I'm going to use some desoldering wick. I haven't tried this stuff yet, but it looks like fun. Looks like shoelace. All right. Okay, so first lesson, when holding the soldering wick, it gets way fucking hot in a hurry. Oh wow, that works really well too. That's great. I like that stuff. Okay, solder wick, super cool. And there's my cleaned up solder pads. That one out there is a little bit high, but it'll be all right. Just solder resist. The PC board is covered with solder resist over areas that are not to be soldered. This is done to reduce soldering shorts on adjacent metal runs on a large pad. Note that half the pad is covered with solder resist. Try soldering to the covered pad. You will find it's impossible to solder. Is that on here? Oh, you can see it. It's right there. All right. Try to do the impossible. Oh, story of my life. It's not going to work. Never let it stop me before. So I can solder on here, even without flux. But I can't solder in here. I got to think they use that for like wave soldering. Now I wonder how clean I can get that. Like just how much will solder wick do? Or is that tinned forever? I think that's tinned forever. Yeah, okay. So I got to solder some wires on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is flux all of those. Then I'm going to tin them. Okay, and it gave me some wire. So it wants me to cut a bunch of pieces that are about 1.5 inches long. I'm going by the book here, literally. That's not so bad. I didn't plan on needing so much solder for a connection, so I'm going to add more solder to these pads. Because I just put enough on there to paint them. That one moved too much. Too much for me to be comfortable. Okay, so we got all of one side done. You guys can take a look at my work there. I'm going to fold these over. It's fucking hard to do. Okay. Let's try and do a better job on this one. I'm going to go from this side back so that I'm not at constant risk of burning the shit out of my hand. Okay, that one's not too bad. It's harder than it looked. Now I understand why I've always had Paul do all the soldering. Oh, fucked it. It needs more solder in there. That's way better. Okay. So 750 tip is hotter than hell. This is when I get people commenting, should have had it at like 200 degrees or something. Okay. Damn it, boy. Oh, that's way better. Okay. Now we'll bring those two together and bring this on around in. Straighten that up. It's a lot of work for connections that won't ever actually do anything. Now see, that doesn't have enough solder on it. Burning the fuck out of my hand. Ow. All right. So what do you think of that? Is that sexy enough for you? Is that appropriate? You like it? I'm happy with it. All right, let's see what's next. Works. Before I do that, I'm going to put a big old gob of solder on each one of those. Boom, I got it. This is fucking hard. So the trick is to do both ends at once. I got like a double solder bridge. Fuck, this is hard. All right. So we're going to take a little bit of that solder out. Can I do it? I may have to do it with this, with the sponge. Okay, I fixed that one. Okay, well those next two are bridge, but we're going to solder on those anyway, so that's okay. This fucking sucks. Whew! Got it. All right, right on to the next one. I would just do this with solder if they were this small and this close together, because wrangling the wire in there is a bitch. It actually needs a little bit more solder on the bottom. Fuck. There we go. All right, we're good. Well, shit, that was hard. But we got there. All right, let's get on to the next section. Whew, that was way more effort than it needed to be. Using the solder wick. Oh, I got that down. I'm good there. We can skip right over page 8. Yeah, solder wick and I, we're real good friends. I love that shit. Figured that out without even needing a book. Now we got a schematic. So we got a triple nickel here, cap, speaker, volume, 9-volt battery. I think it flashes a couple lights and makes a beep. I'm probably using the 555 as an oscillator. All right, we're into the parts. Now it's getting serious. It's a real deal. And I'm going to open this bag of parts. All right. Oh, they give me a little piece of solder wick too. And a couple transistors and a couple LEDs. So that's a transistor, that's an LED, that's a little variable resistor potentiometer thing. And on the anti-static foam, we have what is the only IC in the whole kit, so it's got to be the 555. So we'll set all that down there. And they give me a little bit of solder wick I like that. It's not as nice as my solder wick, but it'll do. So anode is positive and cathode is negative. Cathode, being negative, means a little less. So when you look at a LED, the lead with a bit less is your cathode. It's also the side of the LED that's got the little flat spot on it. So I'm going to put that right through there. Go around. I got that crap hanging off the board now. I'm going back to sideways because I can't spin this easily. That's all the way down. So I'm just going to bend these off to this side a little bit and then go back and grab our other LED. That's clearly our cathode because it's shorter. Okay. Little flux. Let's solder our first parts on. And then we'll trim those off. Soldered my first parts, pair of LEDs. Now we'll get into the circuit theory and all that as to how this works later. At this stage, I'm just following the directions and trying to make it work and not burn the shit out of myself in the process. But if you want to know the details of how all this stuff works, there's a really cool dude named Dave who does a thing called EEV blog, who has forgotten more about electronics than I will ever know in my entire life, and you should check him out. He's a super cool guy. He's wicked smart. And he's got a lot of videos out there. I didn't flux at first, but the solder stuck to it. I think it's because it's a rosin core. I think I'm getting better at this is what I think. I don't think I need to flux everything on here if I'm using rosin core. Let's find out. I'll put it all together, and if it falls apart, well, then I should have fluxed it. I'm going to clean off my ends here. Those tweezers are magnetic, and that wire isn't copper. Let's try these. That'll drop it. Okay. All right, I have now installed 2 LEDs and 2 transistors. Sparky's gonna laugh like hell when he watches this. He's gonna be like, "You're an idiot." Okay, that looks like it should. Okay, R1's in. C1 is 10 microfarads, clearly labeled with the minus. C2, 10 mic. That's the minus. Okay, that one's a little ugly, but it'll do. That could certainly be better. And we're going to do R4 and R5 while I'm at it, because why not? R4 is 22 kilo ohms. It goes down here. R5 is 47 kilo ohms. C3. Let's get C4 out of the way while we're in there. 0.02 microfarad. That's C4. It's ceramic disc, so there's no polarity. And let's solder all that shit on. Gotta remember to bring one of the sexy pairs of Avatech sunglasses up here for doing this. Because there's a lot of spits and sputtering and trimming tiny leads and stuff, and just a good pair of safety glasses is a good idea. Let's flip this over to the component side. Bend you up and out of the way. Now we need the volume potentiometer. Now that's gonna take a little doing. Can I clamp it like that? That's kosher, right? Sure it is. There are huge solder pads for this, so I'm just going to coat the whole solder pad in solder. Seems like the thing to do. And then I'll unclamp that. Solder the third pad. Okay, that's done. I specialize in making boring videos. That's my job. My whole life, 10K was a thing to do with cards. Look that one up. That'll set you down an interesting path. Learn about what 10K has to do with cards. You're going to have to figure out how to spell it right, because it's not what you think. Alright, I still got resistors left over. Got 2 spots for jumpers. But I got 2 resistors left over. What am I missing? Let's see where they go. Alright, I'm going to solder all this up, and then we'll figure out the next steps. Come here. Not all of them? I think that's all of them. got a couple jumpers to do, and I'm just going to use the wire. Okay, that's the jumper wires sorted out. Only main components left is the IC, which is pretty easy. Little 555 timer. Okay. Just folding the legs right over to give me a good mechanical bond, because they're too short to easily trim off. And then we'll just solder the shit out of that. Okay, that's done. Okay, that's our battery terminal. So that's sorted out. Flip this over and use the back of it as a table. Go in your fucking hole. There, that's better. Okay. Speakers sorted out. Now, just to make it pretty, take those two wires. Alright, where's our speaker connect to? There, alright, so we gotta go down the top, out the bottom. No, we gotta go in this side. Flip that around. Poke that one through there. Bend it out. Poke that one through there. Bend it out. I think this is the last two, guys. And I don't see anywhere else to stick a wire or a component. I think we're done. So now we need a battery. Alright, so we got a battery. Everything's hooked up. I turn the volume all the way down. Oh, it's making sounds. This is the world's most annoying circuit. Just going to set that right on the mat. But the lights come on and it makes a sound. So what happens if we take, let's say a 56 kilo ohm resistor and put this here? It doesn't care. Huh. Cool. We made a thing. Next week I'll be releasing my first album with it. So there, I completed it. I'm going to go study the... Fuck off. Oh, the plug is the worst possible quality. So, we have completed solder practice Sierra Papa 1A. I made a thing. That's my first electronics project on my own. I'm 44 years old. But I learned how to solder today, at least a tiny bit. And I have made a thing. So, there you go. I'll be handing this off to Mr. Kidwell for review and comment on his next visit, and we'll see what he says. Cool. Well, thank you guys for hanging out and building this. That was a boring video, but the process of learning new things is frequently pretty boring, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. But I made a thing. I made a thing. I'm proud of it. It's complete shit, but I'm proud of it because I learned stuff. And this is my first step into doing electronics. So thank you for hanging out with me for a very boring video. You should get one of these. The Elenco, E-L-E-N-C-O SP-1A solder practice kit. Get one of these and post pics of yours. They're cheap. It's not terribly hard. Took me about an hour to do the whole thing. Especially if you're like a professional, like serious electronics dude, get one of these. Post a picture of it. We'll have a laugh. It'll be cool. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm Chris Boden. Tell me what you thought of the new setup. As always, we'll see you next time. See ya.